Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mikey intern Ned Reynolds in the studio on a Monday morning, bright and early. Sometimes as a lifelong and diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan, Ned, I feel like I'm living in a dream. I feel like I could never have imagined this as a kid growing up watching this team play, but we're here now, and it looks like we got a Chiefs-Eagles matchup.
This will be the second time in 3 years that it has been Philadelphia versus Kansas City in the Super Bowl. The last one was a rather interesting ball game because it was won by the Chiefs 38-35 on a holding call at the end that negated Philadelphia's chance of winning a field goal, getting a winning field goal. Anyway, that's beside the point. Here's what Kansas City has done, and they're a really interesting team. I contend that if any team gets a lead on the Chiefs, a substantial lead, 2 touchdowns, different ball game. The Chiefs like to dictate the tempo, and they certainly did yesterday against the Buffalo Bills. Got the lead. Buffalo made the comeback. You knew they would. Josh Allen was 32 of 34, 22 of 34 for 237 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Mahomes was just about the same equal stats. But the fact of the matter remains, it was Kansas City's defensive line that made the difference. You might remember late in the game, Allen is leading his team downfield. They have a chance on a 4th and I believe it was 4th and 4 or 4th and 5, whatever it was. But Kansas City knew fully well what Allen was going to do, and that's roll out to the right. He loves to do that. He sure enough did fake the handoff play action pass, rolled out to his right, and there was a Chiefs blitzing weak side linebacker, I believe it was, right in his face, forced an early throw, and while the kid had a chance to catch the ball, did not do so. And therein lies the difference. Kansas City wins because they have terrific quickness. I'm not saying speed, all the teams had speed, but their quickness, their lateral movement, their coaching ability to get off that line in a hurry and put pressure on the quarterback, and that's what they're going to do to Philadelphia. Now here is Hurts, who will be is hurting, but he'll be the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. And Jalen Hurts is not as mobile as Mahomes. He's going to feel big-time pressure from Kansas City's defensive line. Now, Philadelphia does have a weapon that the Chiefs have only partially seen this year, and that's Saquon Barkley. This kid's a tremendous runner. Probably, or arguably anyway, the NFL most valuable player. He ran for 118 yards yesterday in their game against the Washington Commanders, and getting that just split second. But that's what Kansas City will have to guard against, and that's Saquon Barkley getting away for those big runs. James Cook did it yesterday for the Buffalo Bills. Wasn't enough. Well, we'll see what Barkley can do against Kansas City. I think the Chiefs will probably double-team him, and that'll leave a man open. Now, can the troops of Nick Sirianni overcome that and see what happens? I think it'll be a really good game. The Philadelphia game, a lot of my friends with whom I was visiting said, well, my God, they scored 55 points, 55-23. Very, very misleading. Philadelphia, that was a close game with Washington. Washington's an up-and-coming team. They didn't have the experience. They didn't have the maturity to play in a championship-level game like that. They will next year, maybe the year after that, because they're very, very good. And as long as Jaden Daniels is the quarterback, they're going to be just fine. But the fact remains, Philadelphia had the more experience and came away with a 55-23 win. Again, not indicative of how close that game was. I think Philly and Kansas City will be a good game. I think Kansas City has the better team, but as the weeks go on, and it'll be 2 of them, we'll make that determination.
Yeah, and we're going to have a lot of talk about as we get closer and closer to the championship in Nolans. But yeah, I think I agree with pretty much everything you said. You have to find out a way to stop Saquon. Big prop to that front 4, front 5. Yesterday they played their ass off against the Bills, and props to the Bills. They had a hell of a team, and it's just, again, a game of attrition. They don't lose that defensive back. May have been a completely different story down the line, man.
Or if they had gotten the first down, which they did get, and it was taken away from them. But again, all of this is ifs, ands, and buts. I watched the Chiefs game with the sound turned down, so I made my own determination.
You think he got that first?
Oh, I think we did. He was a good foot ahead of that line. And I did not hear the announcers, but they said the same thing.
Did you see the aerial view?
But the aerial view is not the ground view.
Yeah, the aerial view didn't look like he got it.
Makes no difference. It wouldn't have, I don't think, changed the game at all. The Chiefs deserved to win because they did what they had to. They established the momentum and the control, and they made Buffalo play Kansas City football. And that's the Super Bowl coming up. If Philadelphia can make the Chiefs play Philadelphia football, different story.
Yeah, my question, because I do know that you do bleed green and white.
It was my boyhood team.
Yeah.
And I'm a reporter.
Do you? Well, I say that not as a dig, but because you might have more insight. Yesterday, watching the NFC Championship, Philly, even though they did handily beat the Commandos, they're banged up, especially their front offensive line. I mean, they had three different centers at one point going into that game. You think that's going to be this 2 weeks enough to get a lot of those guys back?
I don't know. Don't know what the nature of the injuries are. I don't think the Chiefs had any in their game.
No, we get out scot-free, which that's also a good thing.
It's part of the game.
Yeah.
Those things do happen. You learn to adjust. That's why they're championship teams.
So the first tennis Grand Slam event Down Under, rather, is history. Who are the big winners?
Big winners are the men's number 1 seed in America. In other words, the top tennis player, Yannick Sinner from northern Italy. He is really dominant. Beat Alexander Zverev in straight sets. The winner for the women is American Madison Keys, and this is her first Grand Slam title. She's a fine player, but has been on that circuit now, on the ATP circuit, for many years. And here she finally gets that first win. Knocked off Aryna Sabalenka, and that was big. Sabalenka was the defending champion. So the tennis is over. The Australian Open's over, for another years. Now it is on next to the Paris Open, or the French Open in Paris at Roland Garros on the clay. That will be fun. That's in the middle part of May and bordering on June, right before Wimbledon.
You like what you see down under? It was a good tournament.
Yes, very, very good. I was a little disappointed in Novak Djokovic, who could not finish. He had an abdominal injury, and he bowed out in the semifinals. I would have liked to have seen him win his 11th Australian Open. He's won it 10 times. But, hey, you've got to pay attention to your body, and that's exactly what Mr. Djokovic did.
As we get closer and closer to pitchers and catchers reporting at the end of next month, might be a little bit more action in the free agency, specifically Houston trying to make a move right now.
Well, they're interesting because Houston made an initial offer to Alex Bregman, their all-star third baseman, one-time player of the year at LSU, and Bregman turned it down. He said, I think I can make another deal. Might have to be a trade, but you could make another deal. Well, nothing's happened. He visited with Detroit, visited with Boston. Bregman, here's the key, is a third baseman. Now he says, yep, he's coming back. Where did the money come from? Well, the Cubs yesterday traded Ryan Presley. He is a relief pitcher, and that frees up the money. Now, also, it breaks a logjam because our friend Nolan Arenado of the Cardinals has been looking for a deal, and they put him off because the two teams involved, Detroit Tigers and the Boston Red Sox, both wanted Bregman. But Bregman's gone back to the Stros, so he's not a factor anymore. What does that do for Nolan Arenado, and does it create a new trade? We'll see what happens.
MSU Bears, still star-crossed season, huh?
Interesting year. They took the number 1 team in the league, Drake, into overtime on Saturday, and then fell in the overtime by 7 points. And it's tough. 69-62 was the final score. Drake won it in overtime. The Bears are now 0-10 in the Missouri Valley Conference. They have not won a game this year. Lady Bears, different story. They won twice. Beat Drake and Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa yesterday, 83-45. That's a big-time walloping. And the Dirty teams split at Illinois, Chicago. Ladies won, men lost, and the Mizzou Tigers scored a win over a ranked team, Ole Miss. Of course, Missouri's ranked 2. Ole Miss is a loser to the Missouri Tigers, and now the weeks continue, and we're really going to take a look at things in the final week in January. We're not too very far away from March Madness.
I know, my guy, but before that, we got a little bit of football left to play in New Orleans, my man. You have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.